You'll never be anything more than a disappointment, my mother's voice echoed across the table. My uncles laughed. My cousin Tessa rolled her eyes. It was supposed to be a family dinner, my first visit home in 3 years, but it felt like a courtroom where I was already sentenced. The worst part. They weren't wrong. Or at least that's what I used to believe. I was the dropout, the quiet one who'd failed out of college after a panic attack mid-semester. While Tessa became a social media darling with brand deals and magazine covers, I sold handmade jewelry online to pay rent. That night they didn't invite me to eat. They invited me to humiliate myself. But when Tessa's fiancé arrived late and our eyes met across the room went silent. He froze first, then whispered, "Serafina." I hadn't seen him in 8 years. Lucas Davenport. He'd been my first love, my secret from senior year. We'd met at a summer internship. He was older, kind, and treated me like I was more than the awkward, anxious girl with braces and trembling hands. But one day he vanished. No goodbye. No explanation. Just gone. And now, here he was, standing beside my perfect cousin Tessa, sliding an arm around her waist while his face drained of color. "Lucas," I managed, my voice breaking. His jaw clenched. "You two know each other?" Tessa asked, suspicion flickering. Lucas forced a laugh. "She used to live near my campus." Small world, huh? My chest tightened. He lied so easily. The rest of the evening blurred. Tessa bragging about their engagement party, my mother pretending I didn't exist, and Lucas avoiding my eyes. I slipped outside for air. The night smelled of rain and lavender. My reflection in the glass door looked like a stranger. Hair frizzy, face pale, heart split open again. That's when I heard footsteps. Lucas stepped out. "Serafina, please. Don't make this harder." "Harder? You're marrying my cousin," he sighed. "You don't understand. I had to." "Had to?" I laughed bitterly. "Did someone hold a gun to your head?" He hesitated, then looked toward the house. "You should stay away from her family, Sarah. There are things you don't know." Before I could ask what he meant, Tessa appeared at the door, her smile sharp. "There you are, babe. Mom's calling us." She glanced at me, then at him. The smile vanished. The message glowed on my screen, anonymous and chilling. "Stay away from Lucas, or you'll end up like the last girl." What last girl? I didn't sleep that night. The words looped in my head like a haunting melody. By morning I'd made up my mind. I had to know. I started digging online. Lucas's company profile listed Tessa as creative director of a fashion startup funded by her parents. Every photo showed her glowing beside him. Smiling, rich, adored. But 3 years back I found an old newspaper article about a missing intern named Marina Lake. Same city. Same office. The article said Marina had been last seen leaving a company event hosted by the Davenport Foundation, Lucas's father's company. My stomach turned. I tried messaging Lucas. No response. Then, around noon, a black SUV pulled up outside my small apartment. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. "I told you to stay out of it." I looked out the window. The SUV's tinted window rolled down slightly. A woman's voice called out, "Serafina Carter?" My legs trembled as I opened the door. The woman flashed a badge. "Detective Ramirez. We need to talk about Lucas Davenport." I stared at the photo until my vision blurred. Lucas and Marina at a seaside cafe, smiling. Time-stamped 48 hours after her disappearance. "What does this mean?" I whispered. Detective Ramirez's eyes were sharp. "We've been watching him for a while. Your cousin's fiancé is under investigation for fraud and obstruction. Marina was his assistant. Before she vanished, she'd emailed herself evidence of embezzlement, millions from charity accounts." Felt sick. "Why tell me?" he asked. "Because you were seen with him last night. We believe he'll reach out to you. If he does, we want you to record it." That evening my phone lit up again. "Lucas." I almost didn't answer. "Sarah," he said, voice trembling. "They're lying. Marina's alive. I helped her disappear. Your cousin's family, Tessa's father, was behind the fraud. They used me as a scapegoat. My heart pounded. Then why lie last night? Because they're dangerous, he said. And now they know you're part of this. I heard a noise behind him, a door creaking open. He whispered, "If anything happens, find Marina. She's under a new name, Evelyn Frost." The call cut off. I dropped my phone. "What do you mean, gone?" Tessa's voice cracked through the static. "He drove off a bridge. The police said it was an accident." My body went cold. Lucas. But his last words echoed in my mind. Find Marina. 2 days later at his memorial, the air was thick with lies. Tessa cried perfect tears while photographers snapped photos of the grieving fiancé. My mother whispered, "See, Serafina, that's what happens when you chase people out of your league." I smiled tightly. Maybe. Or maybe some people chase ghosts. After the service, I slipped into the study. Lucas's briefcase sat on a chair. Inside was a flash drive labeled Charity Project 47. When I opened it, my screen filled with spreadsheets, offshore accounts, and names. Tessa's father at the top. My pulse raced. Copied everything and ran. That night, I emailed the files to Detective Ramirez. Within hours, she replied. "You just blew this case wide open. Stay hidden. We're coming for them." The pounding on my apartment door jolted me awake. It was barely dawn, rain hammering the windows, thunder rumbling low and heavy. I slipped on my robe, heart racing, and opened the door, only to find Tessa drenched, mascara running down her face, hands trembling, and a gun pointed at me. "Tessa," I whispered. "What are you doing?" Her voice cracked like glass. "You ruined everything." I stepped back slowly, my bare feet cold against the tiles. "Your dad's been arrested," she shouted. "The company's gone, our accounts frozen. Mom's in the hospital because of you. You think Lucas was some hero? He used you, Serafina." My pulse thundered in my ears. "Tessa, listen." She cut me off with a scream. "You were always jealous. The ugly dropout. The charity case Mom only invited to make herself look kind." Her words stung, but only for a second. I'd heard them before, too many times to count. This time they didn't pierce me. Instead, I saw something else in her eyes. Fear. Desperation. Maybe even guilt. "Tessa," I said softly. "Lucas didn't use me. He died trying to protect the truth. He loved you once, but he couldn't live inside your father's lies anymore." Her grip faltered. The gun trembled. Then her voice broke into a whisper. "No. He died running from me. He was going to expose us all." Lightning flashed, slicing the room in white. That's when I heard the sirens outside. Faint but growing louder. A loud crash followed. The door burst open as Detective Ramirez stormed in, gun drawn. "Drop the weapon!" Tessa screamed, spinning around. "You don't understand. He deserved it. He betrayed me first." Her sobs filled the room. She fell to her knees, the gun clattering against the floor, echoing through the silence that followed. The detective's voice softened. "It's over, Tessa." As they cuffed her, she glared up at me. "You think you're better than me, Serafina? You'll always be nothing. Just the dropout who needed saving." But this time her words didn't stick. I looked down at her, and for the first time I didn't feel small. Felt free. Later that night, in a quiet interrogation room, Detective Ramirez slid a phone across the table toward me. "There's something you should see," she said. On the screen was a video file. The sender's name made my heart stop. Lucas Davenport. His face appeared, pale and tired, eyes filled with regret. "If you're watching this, Serafina, I didn't make it. But you were right to keep fighting. They'll come for you, but don't stop. Tell the truth. Don't let them bury it again." I sat there in silence, tears slipping down my cheeks. His voice, steady, defiant, alive, was the closure I didn't know I needed. But as the video faded, a message flashed on the screen. one final, hidden line of text. Find the red folder in my study. It's the real reason they killed me. My heart skipped a beat. The storm followed me like a shadow. By the time I reached Lucas's office, thunder had swallowed the city. The building was dark, half empty, the kind of silence that makes you feel watched. I pushed open the glass door. The smell of damp paper and burnt coffee lingered. His desk was still there, covered in dust, paper scattered like he'd left mid-thought. And then I saw it. A crimson-red folder tucked behind a drawer, sealed with tape. My fingers shook as I pulled it open. Inside, dozens of documents, bank statements, offshore accounts, and a list of donors with staggering figures beside their names. But what froze me was the first page. Davenport Holdings, Black Budget Fund, Project Serafina. Name. On a secret file. There were emails too, between Lucas, Tessa's father, and my own mother. My blood ran cold as I read the subject line. She doesn't need to know where the money came from. They'd used me. My name, my social security, my credentials from the internship Lucas once got me. All of it tied to illegal transfers. I sank to the floor. Lucas hadn't just been protecting the truth. He'd been protecting me. A sudden sound made me flinch. A step. Low. Careful. Coming from the hallway. Serafina. The voice made my heart stop. It was Tessa's father, Martin Reed. His suit was soaked, his face pale but eerily calm. You should have stayed out of this, he said, stepping closer. That folder doesn't belong to you. I clutched it to my chest. It has my name on it. He smiled thinly. Exactly. That's why we chose you. You were perfect. Average, invisible, the one no one would ever suspect. The dropout who'd never fight back. Every insult, every dismissal, it had all been part of the manipulation. He reached inside his coat and my breath caught. I can make this all go away. Give me the folder and you walk out alive. Before I could answer, headlights flared through the office windows. A voice shouted, "Police! Freeze!" Detective Ramirez burst in with officers behind her. Martin turned, fury flashing in his eyes. You think this ends with me? You have no idea who I work for. He lunged toward the desk. A gunshot split the air. When the smoke cleared, he was on the floor, blood spreading beneath him, the folder still in my arms. Ramirez knelt beside me, gripping my shoulder. You're safe now. It's over. But as I stared at the folder I whispered, no. This was only one piece. Morning light spilled through my blinds, harsh and unforgiving. I hadn't slept. Lucas's flash drive was still in my laptop, its blue light blinking like a heartbeat. I clicked through folders until one caught my eye. 4S. Inside was a video. Lucas again, tired, unshaven, his voice quieter this time. If you found this, you already know what they did. But there's one more truth you need to hear. Your mother, she wasn't a victim. She was the one who started it all. I felt the world tilt beneath me. She built the fake charity network. Used Tessa's father as a shield. I only helped her move the money because she said it would save you from debt collectors. When I realized what she was doing, it was too late. They threatened to kill us both. Tears blurred my vision. My mother, the woman who'd mocked my failures, belittled every dream, had been leading the empire of lies behind all of it. Could barely breathe. The woman who birthed me had also betrayed me. I drove to her house in silence. Every passing tree felt like judgment. She opened the door before I could knock. Calm, composed, like she'd been expecting me. Serafina, she said softly. You finally found out. Why? I whispered. She sighed, stepping aside. Come in, dear. I'll explain. Her voice was almost gentle, but every word sliced deeper. Your father left us nothing. I built this for survival. You were a means to keep our name alive. You wouldn't understand. You never had the stomach for sacrifice. I laughed bitterly. Sacrifice? You stole from charities. You used my name to wash blood money. Her expression hardened. And look at you now. You're famous, brave, admired. Everything you wanted to be. And all because of me. For a moment, I just stared at her, realizing the full extent of her delusion. Then behind her I saw movement. Detective Ramirez stepping out from the hallway, recorder in hand. "Thank you, Mrs. Carter," Ramirez said coldly. "That's all we needed." My mother's face went white. She turned to me, trembling. You set me up?" I met her eyes one last time. "No, Mum. You set yourself up." As they took her away, I didn't feel victory. Only silence. The kind of silence that comes when every illusion finally breaks. Morning came wrapped in fog. The kind that makes the world look like it's holding its breath. Detective Ramirez called just after sunrise. "Lucas's attorney reached out," she said. "He asked for you, personally." I drove to the downtown law office in silence, the city still damp from last night's rain. Inside, the receptionist guided me to a dim conference room where a single box sat on the table. The attorney, an older man named Mr. Grayson, slid a key across the wood. "Mr. Davenport made me promise you'd be the one to open this." My fingers trembled as I turned the lock. Inside were three things: a sealed envelope, a small velvet pouch, and a USB drive labeled Legacy File. I opened the envelope first. Lucas's handwriting danced across the page. "Sarah, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it out. You were the only real thing in a world built on masks. Everything in this drive belongs to you. Use it to finish what I started." My throat tightened. Mr. Grayson cleared his throat softly. "He also left you the proceeds from an anonymous trust. He wanted it directed to something called Project 47. My breath caught. That was the code name on the charity files I'd found. Lucas had turned stolen blood money into a seed for rebuilding, the very thing they'd used to destroy us. Plugged in the drive. The monitor came alive with documents, letters, and one final video. Lucas's face appeared, paler now, but his eyes still carried that quiet fire. "They think wealth is power," he said. "But truth lasts longer. Give this to the press, Sarah. Let the world see who really ran Davenport Holdings." He looked down, exhaling. "And when this ends, don't hide anymore. You were never the ugly one. You were the one who saw through the beauty of lies." I couldn't stop crying. Every tear felt like forgiveness. Of him, of myself, of every version of me that believed I wasn't enough. That night, I sent the file to Ramirez and 3 journalists. Within 24 hours, the headlines exploded. "Global charity scam exposed. CO network falls after insider leak. Dozens of executives resigned." My mother's face appeared on every channel, her empire collapsing in real time. But it wasn't revenge I felt. It was release. The story that began with shame now ended with light. As cameras flashed outside my apartment, a single delivery arrived. No note, just a velvet pouch from Lucas's box. Inside was a necklace, a small silver pendant shaped like a feather. When I held it up to the window, the sunrise caught it, scattering light across the walls. I smiled through tears. "You did it, Lucas. We did." I stared at the paper in Ramirez's hand. Name, bold, black ink. Serafina Carter. Accessory to fraud and money laundering. "What is this?" "Breathe." Ramirez looked almost apologetic. "The DA wants to tie you in. Your signature appears on half the transactions. They know you were framed, but politics needs a face." I felt the world tilt. "After everything I did, after exposing them, you're charging me?" "It's temporary," she said. "We'll clear you in court. But they're going to drag you through the mud first." 2 days later, my mugshot was everywhere. "Whistleblower or accomplice?" the headlines sneered. My inbox filled with hate and praise in equal measure. I spent nights in the county holding cell, listening to the drip of pipes and the whispers of women who had their own stories of betrayal. One of them, a thin woman named Carla, said softly, "You know what makes you dangerous? You didn't just survive the monster. You named it. Her words stuck. When my trial began, the courtroom was packed. My mother sat in orange, expressionless. Ramirez took the stand and told the truth, that I had been used as a front and then silenced. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Carter, do you have anything to say before sentencing? I stood, voice steady. Yes, Your Honor. All my life I was told I'd never be enough. Turns out I was too much for people who thrived on secrets. The courtroom fell silent. After an agonizing pause, the judge nodded. Charges dismissed. Applause erupted. Reporters shouted my name as I walked out free for the first time in years. Outside the courthouse, Ramirez grinned. You know, Serafina, you just became a symbol. People are calling you the Phoenix whistleblower. I laughed for the first time in months. Phoenix fits. I did burn down a dynasty. But as we spoke, a black car idled across the street. Tinted windows. Butching. Ramirez noticed too. Get in your car and go home. Lay low. He nodded. Yet part of me knew the game wasn't over. Power never dies, it just changes hands. I should have thrown the package away. But curiosity was always my undoing. I plugged the USB in. A single video file appeared, labeled Phase 2. The screen filled with a shadowed figure wearing a gold mask. Congratulations, Serafina, a distorted voice said. You think you ended the corruption. You only cut off a limb. The body still breathes. Froze. You were chosen because you had something we didn't, conscience. Now you have reach. Join us. Or watch the truth about Lucas surface. The screen went black, then flickered again, showing footage of Lucas signing a contract with a masked group 2 months before his death. My chest tightened. Had he known? Had he been part of them? I grabbed my coat and drove straight to Ramirez. When I showed her the video, she rubbed her temples. Great. So the snake has a head we can't see. We traced the metadata to a private server in Switzerland. Hidden accounts. New names. Everything led to a foundation registered under the Phoenix Initiative. I let out a bitter laugh. They used my nickname. Ramirez said. They want you in their circle because you're clean. A public face for a new beginning. I looked at her. Then I'll give them one. Over the next week we built a trap. I went public with a speech announcing a global nonprofit to fight corporate fraud. The news spread fast. And so did the invitation from the masked group. They met me in an abandoned warehouse lit by candlelight. The leader removed his mask. My heart stopped. It was Mr. Grayson, Lucas's attorney. Lucas was our prototype, he said calmly. He failed because he fell in love. You won't make that mistake. Kept my voice steady. You want me to run your foundation? He nodded. Together we can own redemption. That's when Ramirez and her team burst in. Hidden mics blaring, lights flashing. Federal agents, she shouted. The room erupted in chaos. Grayson tried to run but I blocked the door. You played God with people's lives, I said. You forgot I'm the dropout who learned how to fight. He smirked. You can't kill an idea. Maybe not, I said. But I can make sure no one believes in it again. It's been 1 year. 1 year since the warehouse, since the masks fell, since the storm ended. Sometimes I still wake to the sound of rain and gunfire in my dreams. But then I hear something else. The waves outside my window, steady and calm. I moved to the coast, built a small studio where I design handmade jewelry again. The thing I loved before money, before power, before lies. The press still calls me the Phoenix whistleblower. I don't mind anymore. It reminds me that fire doesn't just burn, it forges. Detective Ramirez visits sometimes. She's a friend now. We laugh, we remember. She says the agency still finds leftover embers of the initiative, but each time they crumble a little easier. Last week, I received a letter from Switzerland. No return address. Inside was a single line. For every phoenix that rises, another must rest. Smiled. Maybe it was a warning. Maybe a goodbye. Either way, I'm done running. I visit Lucas's grave every month. I tell him about the charity we rebuilt. Project 47 Reborn. It funds education for victims of financial crime worldwide. When I see young women graduate under our scholarship, I see myself in their eyes. The girl everyone called ugly, hopeless, worthless. Now I know what Lucas meant when he said truth lasts longer than wealth. Wealth dies in accounts. Truth echoes in hearts. Sometimes I hear Tessa's voice from memory mocking me. The dropout who'd never amount to anything. I look around my studio. Sunlight pouring through the windows, designs selling worldwide, hundreds of letters from people thanking me for speaking out, and I whisper, "You were right. I didn't amount to anything you'd understand." The ugly dropout became the mirror their lies couldn't stand to face. I end my nights on the porch watching the sun sink into the water. Sometimes the sky turns crimson like that old red folder, the one that changed everything. I kept it locked away, a reminder that truth always bleeds before it heals. One evening, as the waves rolled in, a young reporter came by. "Miss Carter," he asked, "how did you survive being betrayed by everyone you loved?" I thought for a long moment, then answered, "By learning to love the one person they taught me to hate, myself." He smiled, and I looked back at the ocean. The sun slipped under the waves, glowing like fire beneath water. Maybe that's what a phoenix really is. Not a creature of flame, but a heart that learns to breathe even under ashes. "This is Serafina," I whisper into the sea breeze. And this was my story. Not of revenge, but of rebirth. If you've ever been called worthless, ugly, or hopeless, remember this. You don't need their approval to shine. Speech balloon comment if you've ever been counted out but rose back stronger. Thumbs up like if you believe pain can be power. Bell subscribe for more stories that prove even ashes can glow.